Senator Pauline Tully Shane a bit little.
So we had a number of Irish language organisations in here at the committee last week, and they were very concerned that Irish is the only official European language in danger of extinction and nothing has been done about it. I mean, I agree with Deputy Cummins when she says we need legislation, we need a government focus on this, and we need all departments to be working on setting targets and doing something similar to what Wales did to see a resurgence in the language. But both departments of education and the organisations here have a clear role in that as well. And like, we've had different people talk about their children and their ability to learn the language at school. I have a son doing the Leaving Cert, and I still see him rote learning stuff for a Leaving Cert exam, something I did 40 years ago when it was my Leaving Cert. Things have not changed, and we hear about changes in the curriculum at primary school and at secondary school for junior cycle and for Leaving Cert. But I mean, you know, we need to see a real change at those levels to lead to a proficiency in the ability to speak Irish. And we talk about having to send teachers off, you know, to summer colleges to make themselves proficient in Irish, you know, to teach. Like, they should be coming out of secondary, we should all be coming out of secondary school proficient in speaking this language. So, I mean, you know, and you talk about, you know, the NCCA is working on new Leaving Cert pathways. I mean, do we have an unequivocal guarantee that Irish status as a full core Leaving Cert subject will not be diminished as a result of this process? And I also want to express concern at the high level of exemptions in Irish for Junior Cert and Leaving Cert as well. I mean, 24% of Leaving Cert students last year did not sit the Irish exam, 20% of Junior Cert. Like, exemption seems to be easier and easier to get. We've seen an increase in the number of people getting exemptions, and yet some of these students are doing Spanish or French or doing another European language. And it's down to how it's taught. So we need to, you know, align. I know the NCCA have said your new Leaving Cert cycle will be informed by the CEFR. I mean, that we need to see that rolled out. We need to see it fully aligned with that programme, so that languages can be taught to children of all abilities. I know some children have learning difficulties, and learning a language, you know, is, you know, a second language or a third language is difficult for them. But I mean, if it's made, you know, to suit their needs, that they can learn to be, you know, to get some level of Irish, is better than an exemption. So we need to stop the rolling out the exemptions, and I'm just wondering, is there any plan to do that, to stop exemptions, but make the language accessible to all levels in our school? So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So I might ask Sinead Toohey to say a few words in relation to just the curriculum and some of the points you made around that, and then if there's time I might come back on the point around the exemptions as well.
Thank you, Jactha. I suppose one of the points of interest that probably reflect what you've been saying to us is the inspection reports that we have access to. And in terms of the primary, the Gaeilge at primary, we would have seen from those reports that the inspectors identified a need for teachers to place a greater emphasis on pre-communication, communicative and post-communicative phases in Irish lessons to help the children to progress in terms of their learning, and things like teaching vocabulary not in isolation but in an integrated manner, which would be envisaged in terms of the integrated primary language curriculum. That does require a change in terms of practice. It is there in the curriculum is leading it, but we know from our experience of educational change that does take time. In terms of the junior cycle piece, you spoke there to the rote learning in particular, and that would have been one of the aims in terms of the introduction of the 2 classroom-based assessments in junior cycle Gaeilge, where students will be working first of all on a portfolio across their time of learning. That helps them to actually see incrementally their development, which is hugely motivating for young people in terms of seeing that they're making progress, but not just in terms of their written or their comprehension Irish, but also in terms of their oral Irish. So it provided an opportunity for emphasis on oral Irish across the 3 years of junior cycle, and then obviously in terms of the MRB, the CBA, that's particularly targeted at Gaeilge. We talk about the students and their perspectives of it. One of the things we learned from the Early Insights review that was conducted initially on junior cycle Gaeilge was that there was a need to move from kind of a delivery aspect of Gaeilge that was felt to be the focus of the MRB or the CBA to a more engaging interaction piece, and that's currently being studied as part of the follow-up 3-year study in terms of junior cycle. In terms of the senior cycle piece, I do see, and we do see, the redevelopment of the senior cycle curriculum as an opportunity now in terms of Gaeilge. There's an opportunity. The development group are actually meeting today in terms of their work. They're working towards that vision of the learner with increased motivation for Irish, with an increased interest in speaking Irish, and with an increased ability to speak Irish, and that's fundamentally part of the developments. And we do consult widely in terms of our background papers. The background paper that's in informing the work of that development group, we spoke to a broad range of students in terms of their experience of Gaeilge. When we have a draft specification, we will return and we will speak to the students as well, in addition to the teachers and in addition to the other stakeholders. And I think your point about we need the change is really important. So thank you.
Thanks, Sinead. Senator, just on that point, and thank you for the opportunity just to clarify around the numbers not sitting the Leaving Cert. It would appear that there's just a little bit of a misunderstanding or miscounting in relation to the numbers who sit the Leaving Cert established and the LCVP. And that the percentage that do sit Irish, that equates to about 82%. So it's about 18% rather than the 24% that has been quoted. And it would appear that this seems to be based by including the numbers sitting the Leaving Cert applied. But the nature of the Leaving Cert applied is that they don't get an Irish result because of the nature of the programme overall. I don't know, Sinead, if you want to come in on that. Or
yes, so the Gaeilge that students in the Leaving Cert applied study is the Gaeilge Comm Sáideach. So they don't actually sit the Leaving Certificate Gaeilge exam as many students do. They sit a Gaeilge Comm Sáideach, which has a focus on real world Irish and spoken Irish and Irish in the world around them.
But 18% is still very, very high.
And
I mean,
just
like practically 100% sit maths and English. You know what I mean? So
just on that, I might ask. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you just conclude briefly.
Well, no, I was just going to say that I think COG are doing a lot of work in relation to taking steps to try and address the issues around the level of exemptions, and so they've recently done a call for research and also have a communications and marketing officer. So if time allows, Jacqueline might be able to talk a little bit more about that.
We have to keep. We'll have a second round very shortly.